playing in a few minutes. And this higher vision question is that we believe that not just Peace Cup, but sports in general, in our experience, has the ability to change complete environments to being something where their unity emerges. It's not everything like we were talking about, but it is a stimulant for unity. And from your experience, any one of you, what has there been moments in your life where you've witnessed that? Is there a story, is there an experience that you've had where sports somehow it had something so special about it, brought the worlds together that would never come back and come together?
Well, I'll give you a wonderful story. I used to import grain cars when the dollar was bullish against the mark in my earlier life. When the dollar was so much more than the mark, I would buy Mercedes-Benzes and Porsches and Ferraris and bring them here and sell them, great cars. Of course, that's changed because the big companies would, you go to Washington and they'd cut the little guy out. But I was coming from DC. I picked up a 930 Turbo Porsche. And I was coming from DC back to Texas. I was in Texas at the time. And I was rolling. I was rolling. And I came over the hill and boom, my radar detector went on. But they had a new laser detector. So when the laser detector hit me, I couldn't slow down fast enough, all right? Because boom, you're caught. So the trooper came up and he said, I tell you, you were doing, it was terrible. Now I'm in Tennessee now. It's terrible. And I think I need to take this car and take you to jail. You're going so fast. And I said, didn't I see you at the Tennessee-Georgia game? Weren't you with the coach? He said, yeah, did you see that game? I said, yeah, I saw the game. He said, now go on and slow down. The thing that saved me was Tennessee beat Georgia. So the Tennessee cops said, don't go. So what I discovered then was that sports, even when in a bad situation, if you can articulate something that somebody else likes, you'll get an audience. He might put you in jail, but at least you have an audience. And again, I go back to a very simple statement, and that is, you have no influence where there's no association. Wow. So no matter how wonderful a person you are, we'll never know it until we associate. And sports is a good place to begin. Well, many people, many times I go to Jamaica, I go to Usain Bolt's place, and we have these conversations, and the conversations go from sports to other things that are relevant in life. But you have to have a meeting place.
Thank you, Bishop. Good.
In 2007, I was playing for the Utah Jazz. And in early May of 2007, one of our daughters, who's now 18, was diagnosed with a rare form of eye cancer. She was 9, almost 10 months old. And so our world was flipped upside down. At that time, retinoblastoma, very rare, the numbers were very rare that you even get this disease. The treatment at that time was to remove the eye because young people cannot experience regular systemic chemotherapy. It would kill them essentially. So removing the eye was the only form of treatment for young people. I was working with actually a private trainer, guy that, helps you stay in shape, et cetera. He was a former registered nurse. He helped us do some research, and he found a hospital in New York, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. There was a brain surgeon and a heart surgeon that had joined together to create what is called intra-arterial chemo, where you can go direct to the eye. So the brain surgeon and the heart surgeon found that you can go through the femoral artery in the groin, up through the abdomen, intestines, through the heart, and there's a blood vessel that runs from the heart to the brain. And so they did the chemo directly to her left eye. And so we did 3 rounds of treatment. And the research said if she goes into remission and has no recurrences again, once she reaches the age of 5, she's good. So all of this was happening in May during the NBA playoffs, and nobody knew that that's what we were experiencing. And then we had a game, and I missed the first half of the game, but nobody knew why, because we had not shared what was going on. So I got to the game at halftime because we had just finished the treatment. And I get to the game at halftime, the cameras are there, they see me come in. The game ends, we win in overtime. I scored 3 points in this game. Not 23 points, not 33 points, 3 points. But for some reason, because of the association that people had made with my previous experiences when I played for the Lakers and what I meant to basketball or whatever, people were curious and wanted to know about where I had been. And I wasn't sure I wanted to share this because this was a very personal and family moment. But I decided to say in a post-game interview why I had been gone, what we had been through as a family, what my daughter had experienced. I shared the name of the cancer, retinoblastoma. I shared what the name of the treatment was, and I just encouraged people, anybody that was listening or watching, to make sure you take your kids to get their eyes checked, because it's very hard to detect. And if it were not for a doctor that took their job seriously, we may have missed this very small cancer seed that was in her eye. Fast forward, the doctors told us that me sharing that, and it ended up being on SportsCenter and ESPN and all of these other places, it was able to impact medicine and doctors in this space more than any other medical journal or magazine or whatever that, doctors write about things. There was people watching sports that created a pathway for them to learn this information. My daughter at the time was the 7th or 8th young person that had ever even experienced this treatment. Since then, and hearing her story, thousands of kids from all over the world have now flown to New York, had this treatment, had their eyes saved and their lives saved. And all of that started with a conversation after a basketball game. And so we talk about the impact of sports. That's also a way that we influence people by sharing our stories and being human in a sense, so that people can connect with what's going on in their life.
For myself, as you mentioned earlier, I've been part of the State Department Sports program. And your question and all the experiences of you remind me of a moment where myself and one other female player ended up going. We weren't sure if we were going to make it to EMR. If you don't know, had a lot of issues with I'm not going to say how long ago this was, but it was quite some time ago. And we went there. We went to Myanmar, a distressed country, so to speak. There's a lot of internal issues within the government. But we went there as part of the Envoy program to actually go out and coach, and participate with the youth that were there. And with the adults that were there as well, two separate groups. I remember the day we were out on the field. And most of the time up until this point, we've been there for like 4 or 5 days, but this last day, a bunch of girls came out. And I was a little bit surprised. It didn't even dawn on me. I was like, oh yeah, we really haven't done anything with the girls since this point. And come to find out, the girls weren't allowed to play soccer. Or they weren't allowed to participate at all. It was soccer in this country, or in a lot of countries actually, is viewed as a very masculine male sport, and it's looked down upon at times for young women to be playing the game. So when we got out there, we were actually out there with these young girls, and they were playing the game. Just the experience for me to see the smiles on their faces, is seeing them actually going out and kicking the ball, sometimes in sandals, sometimes in bare feet, sometimes in shoes. It didn't matter. They were just out there playing, and they were having some of the best times of their life just for like a 20-minute session to be able to play with myself and this another young woman with the U.S. team. And then on top of it, afterwards, we had another 30-minute session with the adults, where there was men and women that were out there that were being taught how to coach. It was to have that lasting impact, once we were gone, to leave that behind. And I remember talking to one of the coaches out there, and they were letting us know the reason that they came out here was because of the experiences that they had seen on the men's national team with the U.S. and with the women's national team. And that's why they came out, to be able to participate and see exactly what it was that we were doing, and trying to see if they could learn from us to try to pass it on to this next generation of young, not only young men, but what inspired me was the young women as well. To be able to see young girls playing the game. And I know it's difficult, for us to really realize that at times, but that's a commonality of a lot of different countries where soccer is looked on as such a masculine thing, and they do not want young girls playing. So for me, this was a special experience, to be able to see them come out there and play, and that in some way, shape, or form that we have hopefully affected the future of those young girls.
All right. My goodness, what beautiful testimony. It's very difficult to follow that up, I must say. I think for me, sports has been a big part of my life on a much lower level. I think one time that really struck me, I think it was in my senior year of high school. I made my varsity basketball team. It was my first time ever playing. It's a big deal. I was really excited. I told all my friends. The thing I left out was that I didn't really get any playing time. I was just a sub of a sub of a sub. So I sat mostly the bench the entire time. And so being the good friends that I had, they decided one day to really surprise me, fill the stands and cheer. And so they showed up, and I didn't play a single minute of that game. And I was mortified. How embarrassing. I told them that I played basketball, but I didn't really play basketball. And for me, though, when the game was done and I had to face them, they just loved me up, as you were saying, right? They just loved me up. They encouraged me. They're like, hey, don't worry about it. We still love you. You're still our brother. You're still our friend. And for me, this is where it really showed me where we find our value, right? It doesn't really matter. As you were saying, right? In the game, in the winning, or in the times that you win, even though I would like to experience that more. But it really is on a much bigger picture on where you are, as we are sons and daughters of God, and having that value that we were friends of faith, and no matter how embarrassing it was, they still embraced me, they still loved me, they still wanted to be there with me. And I think for that moment, it's like having, no matter at what level of expertise of sport, is having those moments together. And I think, this picture is something, this bigger picture is the reason why we have to always have something to aim for, something to work towards. And for me, that was really clear, that it was through these friends of faith, that it doesn't matter so much how great you are, how good you are, but that you're just there with each other.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And it actually encourages me, because our goal as Bishop Jones, we want to bring Peace Cup one day even to North Korea, to Israeli-Palestine, to these places, and use it as a means to make an impact and to know that that could be possible. My personal dream is I want to show that even the people in these places that are, maybe the governance is bad, but the people are still humans. They're still God's children. And I believe sports is a way to put it on the map that, you know, even people in North Korea, they're still human beings. And if we go and play sports there, maybe the world would see that they're also children of God. And I'm excited about that. I believe in the power of it. So thank you for encouraging. So I'm going to bring you down, and this is the last question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but it's actually something I wanted to ask each of you, because you've all been in high, intense situations where you were losing bad. Maybe you're down 3-0 and you have to pull yourself back up to the top, or maybe you're winning and you're getting to the max. You've reached your personal max. Maybe you've reached your limit, and many of us are about to reach our limit in futsal. And there's a moment, I believe, where you have to decide whether you're going to keep going for the sake of whatever it is and push through. And I believe that's the moment of glory. I always find, as a runner, I always felt that's the moment that determines whether you're a true runner or not. Not the time, not the victory, but what you do at the very end. And I want to, if each of you could give a piece of advice as an athlete, when you hit your limit, when you hit that moment, when you're down 3-0, when you have to pull yourself back, what goes through your mind and how do you end up bringing it? It's a very grounded
You want to
question.
tell us about that long jump?
Tell us about the long jump.
There are times when you realize that you are literally at your limit. And then the question is, what do I reach for now? And one of the things that is so significant, I think, and it's very spiritual, and that is hope, that expectation. And one thing that hope does is hope disturbs the present. Because what hope says is, it's tough, it's rough, I'm sweating, I'm about to break. But if I break physically, you can't break me spiritually. I'm not built to break in terms of my psyche. So I give an example. And I don't like to call names, but I'm going to call a name now. We were playing pool one night, and we were playing with Emmett Smith. So I was playing pool with a group, and Emmett was playing cards, but he looked and saw I was having so much fun at the pool table. He says, I'm going to go and play pool. So, because I know I couldn't beat Emmett, I said to my buddy, who is a pool shot, you play. So he's playing, and Emmett is running the table. The last ball is left. And Emmett missed the last ball. And my fellow ran the table. I understand why he is who he is. His face changed. I mean, it's like he just got dark. And so I knew we were going to be there all night until he won. Because he was at his limit. But here's what he said. He said, I didn't lose, you won. That gives you the inner strength that even in a losing situation, you don't capitulate. I'll come again, I'll try again, and I'm coming back at this again. And what that does is it widens your limit. So what would stop you today, 2 weeks from now, won't stop you, because you've stretched your limit. You've reached in your gut and you've pulled out something that'll keep you going to the next step.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points. It's hard. A lot of times we're not willing to go beyond certain limits unless we're assured that we're going to get what we want out of it, right? So we'll reach that point where like, okay, I'm willing to go that far, but if I got to go way over there and I'm not really going to get a reward for it, I'm not going to get what I want out of it, I'll just stop here. And I think in sports, the whole thing, from even when you're a kid, it's all just practice to keep stretching your limit so that you're willing to keep going even in the face of loss, defeat, failure, missed shots, whatever the situation is. You're willing to just keep going. And you find out that your willingness to keep going is what the whole race is about. Futsal, football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, it's a race for life. And you never stop running your race.
Marathon.
The minute you stop, right, and you give in to that, what appears to be, I'm not going to be successful, I'm not going to win, then you really have allowed someone else to win. But you are capable of pushing through. We're much more capable of things than we give ourselves credit for. And we just have to believe, and this is also where faith comes back in, is that you literally have to believe in something that you cannot yet see. And you can take that into sports as well. Thank you, David.
Wow. There are no limits. You know, that's the way I like to look at it. You know, never give up, never surrender. I've always thought that there's something, if you want to call it inner drive, something spiritual about it that really takes you to that next level. When you think that you're almost done, you have to dig deep, you know, and kind of find it within yourself. Is it spiritual? Like, I think there's a significant part of that. I think a lot of it is prevalent, a spiritual nature throughout sport, because how many times will athletes tell you, almost if you could have a moment within church or something that you're in the zone, that all of a sudden, and I'll speak to myself, 5 minutes, 45 minutes, halftime whistle blows, I'm just like, wait, what happened? I thought it felt like it was just like 10 minutes. Time went like this. You are in a zone that you have gone deep within yourself and have just had something happen that goes beyond. And that's that whole moment, that whole experience also has to be taken into effect when you get to a point where you're just like, can I go? But can you find that drive within? Can you tap into that something extra and realize that the only limit is what you've put upon yourself? And there's a truth to that in the fact that if you train more, if you focus more, if you work harder, guess how much farther that limit goes for you. You know, so if you can tap into yourself, tap into that inner drive, tap into that spiritual nature, you'll be able to continue to go farther and beyond your wildest dreams and expectations. And I think everybody up here is a perfect example of that. I didn't think that I'd be where I am right now, you know. I won't say how long ago, but a long time ago. Let's put it that way.
Final word is done for you.
I'm taking a lot of notes. My futsal team isn't doing so hot right now, so I needed this. Thank you. No, I think ultimately I just want to keep a smile on my face. You know, even though we're a low seed at the moment, you just have to enjoy, right? As Mother and Father Moon said, we have to experience joy. That's what God wants to experience through us. So I'm just trying to have a good time, to be happy, and no matter what happens, it's going to be good. Yeah.
We believe in you, Dempsey. You're going to win today. Let's give another round of applause to our panelists, Bishop Jones, Bishop Kobe Jones, Dempsey Louie. You are amazing, and thank you for being so open to inviting, talking about the faith aspect, the spirit aspect, and we look forward to the future of what we can build, not just with Peace Cup, but with each and every amazing person that is here.